Hey everyone, and welcome to another Sasquatch Theory podcast. On this episode, we have Jerry from Indiana. He had a terrifying Bigfoot encounter with a whole clan of Sasquatch. Jerry claims he was fishing at a pond during the summer when he ran into this tribe of Sasquatch. I have taken a lot of Bigfoot reports from June and July in the summertime. It seems like things are at their fullest, the trees are fully budded, there's a lot of bugs out there, and the animals can move around freely since there's no hunting during the summertime. It's really hot and humid as well, and there's a lot of ticks, mosquitoes, snakes, spider webs, things of that nature, and it's just kind of icky out there. These things live out there full time, and they know when there's no people out in the woods. Have you had a Bigfoot encounter that you would like to share with me here on the channel? If so, please get in touch with me at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. Alright, with all that being said, let's dive straight into Jerry's Bigfoot encounter from the state of Indiana. All right, Jerry, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
Great.
Good. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today. If you would, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your Bigfoot encounters and experiences from the very beginning.
I live in outside Terre Haute, Indiana. It's kind of a rural area, and there's really, if you walk 100 yards in any direction, it's woods. And once you get outside of it's not really a city, they call it a city, but once you get outside of the town, it's all woods for 50, 60 miles to the next town. And I moved back home to Indiana in 1997, and it was July of 1997. I belonged to a gun club in a small town near Terre Haute, and it has a locked gate to the property. Well, there's three small strip pits. We call them lakes or ponds here. And there's a big one in the back and two small ones up front. And this gun club has a locked gate. It was pretty much desolate at that time. I seen one or two guys in there in about 12 years. You go to this gun store and you pay for a membership and they give you a key and that's it. So I spent a lot of time fishing in the back of this place. And I noticed some weird stuff like indentions in the ground and like an area where something had ate a lot of fish in a small spot. And I never really paid attention to it. I remember finding all that stuff though. But one day I pulled right off of the road that leads to this place, and it's not far from another small town. It's actually right off of the main street. The main street of this town goes out in the country indefinitely. About a mile outside of town is the gun club. I was messing around one day and I went to the front of the club by the road. I found this little trail that led down to the water. And this strip pit has probably 60 or 80 feet, almost vertical drop. If it's dry, you can turn your feet sideways and kind of lean back and kind of get down there. And there's a little peninsula. I went down there one day and I got down to that little peninsula. I'm like, wow, I bet this has never really had, never had a line put in it. So I said, I'm not a morning person, but I'll get up before the sun comes up. I'll come down here and I'll hit this with some of these little secret little handmade bass lures I use. So I went home and got up early in the morning. It was still dark. It was July 20th, 1997. I went up to the entrance of the little trail and pulled off in the grass into this tree. Had a little Chevy Cavalier. I got my little tiny Plano tackle box and a fishing rod and went over to the hill and started going down it. And the first 5 feet, it kind of goes down a little bit and then it'll flatten out. Then it's pretty steep. It, excuse me, had, it was really foggy and it was dark, but I seen this hole where the trail was. So I went in there and I just slid completely down about 60 or 80 feet. And there's rocks and roots sticking out of it. So I spread my arms and I slid all the way down to the water's edge. My left foot went into the water. I'm like, oh man. I still have my tackle box in one hand and the fishing rod in the other. So I got up and shook my foot off. I'm like, oh man, I just scared away everything in this pond. It's over. Forget it. So I stood up and I was like, well, I'm already here. I started casting and this looked like a Stephen King movie. There was a blanket of fog across this pond about 4 feet off of the water and about 20 feet in the air. Fog will just be trapped in those little strip pits, like 60-foot rock walls to them. So I'm down there, and when I slid down and I stood up, I grabbed my fishing pole, a bush across the pond started kind of rustling. And I'm kind of a woodsman. I've hunted coyotes for 35 years straight, exclusively, 7 days a week. I work and hunt. That's all I really do. And this bush rattled again. I thought, well, it's either a raccoon or a deer. And I cast it a few times and I heard a noise behind me, like on the trail coming down to me. It's the only way to get to this place. And then I kept hearing a cackle and like some whistling. And I don't think coons can whistle, and I don't think deers whistle. And then across from me, straight in front of me, this thing starts whistling back behind me, and I know they're communicating. I can hear them very clearly. I remember every noise they made. It was like a click and a whistle and like a loud clicking. And they were very different, so I know they were saying different things. So I cast that whole time, about 5 minutes, I was casting to my left, and one ear's on the one up the hill, and my right ear's listening to the one across the way. And this little pond is shaped like a peanut. It comes together probably 20 yards where the little peninsula where I was standing. The other side has a bow in it that comes pretty close to me. You can cast across this very easily. And I was casting to my left, and I'm figuring out, okay, coons aren't distance communicators, period. They can scream and stuff, but they just, they're independent thinkers. And I look across the way, and the fog kind of clears a little bit. And I see something turn towards me and like look at me with eyeballs. So I started casting to my right, and then I cast to it a few times. And I mean, I'm reeling this in, not trying to catch any fish. I'm praying I don't, like, okay, this is a little too big. It's a little too high to be a coon or a deer. And it was reaching across this juniper bush, picking these flowers and putting it in its mouth. I said, okay, a deer can't grasp things with its hoofs. I know better than a deer will stand on their hind legs and eat apples off of trees that we think, yeah, there's no way they could get that. And I'm watching it out of the corner of my eye and trying to pretend like I'm really paying attention. I reached down in my tackle box, opened it up, closed it, and latched it back. Like I was really not paying attention to them, but I was. And I cast it. I said, well, this is going to be the definitive answer right here. I was trying to get it to move or so I could see it better. And the moon shined directly on it like a spotlight. And it was standing pretty still eating those flowers. I casted my plug right at its feet, right at the base of the bank. I got a little closer than I wanted to. It hit the bank and the water and went splash and splashed water up on its face because I power cast. It splashed water on it and it went woof and looked me dead in the eye, just like you go in McDonald's and look the person in the eye. I know it was trying to stay hidden, and for the most part it did. But once it seen I was looking directly at it, it was still chewing those flowers and had them hanging out of its mouth. It turned directly towards me and gave me a perfect uh, broadside body, view of its chest, its face, the top of its head, down to its waistline. And I knew right there, hey, that's either a gorilla standing on a 5-foot box or I need to get the heck out of here. I started shaking real bad. I looked away. I didn't want to keep eye contact. Like I didn't notice it, like I didn't see it look right at me. And it was looking at my plug going back and, me casting it and reeling it back in. I'd see its eye. That's how close I was to it. Its eyes looked directly down, was watching my plug. It was like, And it went, and looked down like totally not a threat. Then it started cackling back to the one that was talking to behind me. I thought, okay, I'm hoping the thing behind me is like a raccoon because it was going and making some weird noises, which I've been in the woods all my life since I was a child, all over the United States. I know everything that's in these woods, everything. I'm like, okay, I'm not sure what that is, but I want to get out of here. I said, I don't want to run and panic, because, I hunt like 12 hours a day. So I reeled it in. I hooked my lure up on my pole, reached down real slow and easy and grabbed my tackle box. Looked around a little bit because I didn't want to seem like I was panicking, but I was very panicking. I turned around and started up the hill, and it was just covered with mud because of the fog and the humidity. Just slick clay and mud. As a matter of fact, the county's name is Clay County that this happened in. And I started heading back up, and I fell right on my face. Just feet went right out from under me. I said, "Oh, I got to keep going. I can't just lay." So I decided to leave my tackle box and the pole, and I started grabbing rocks and roots and climbing up. This trail is that steep. I wasn't getting anywhere. I would like pull 3 times and then slide all the way back down to the bottom. Like, oh my God, I gotta get. I wonder if I can swim faster than it. So I kept climbing and climbing, and I got halfway up. I was exhausted, and my knees went out from under me. Even my jeans had mud all over them, and wet mud is not good. So I just laid there for a second, flat on my face. I kept hearing something rustle to my right. I'm like, oh, the thing that was behind me. There was a ledge that I never seen before, probably 10 feet wide. And the way they dug the coal out of these, they go in swirls and as they're digging, so their trucks can drive out. And this ledge ended about 20 feet away from the trail. So the only way in or out was on that slope. I've went back and seen it in daylight. Yeah. So I looked to my right. I kept seeing something swaying like a tree in the breeze, but there was no breeze. It was dead still. And I saw one about 6 feet tall, covered with hair, holding a really small one, and one about 6'6", and another one about 5 feet tall, all standing, huddling in a group. And when I turned my head, it took a second for my eyes to adjust to it. They all hunk together. So it would just look like a shadow or a black blob. But I stared at them, and the moonlight hit them. I seen their face, and they weren't. That's what it was when I was on the peninsula fishing. They were panicking because there was no way out other than to go behind me and make a lot of noise. There was no way for him to leave. So he was telling them, stay put, because they were bickering back and forth for quite a while, and it was getting louder, probably trying to scare me away, which they did. But I watched them for a couple of minutes, and they didn't make a move towards me. They didn't move their bodies at all. They just stood there swaying back and forth like a little sapling in a strong wind, just kind of fidgeting. So I was able to get up and grab some rocks and keep clawing my way out. And I got up to where I could stand up vertically, like 90 degrees. And I booked to my car. I slid across the hood. I mean, sometimes when you move, you're moving. You don't realize what you're doing. I slid across the hood like Starsky and Hutch. I had the throttle to the floor before I even turned the key. So when I turned the key and slapped it into gear, that little Cavalier was smoking them. So I drove back to my house. I didn't sleep all night. I didn't know what to do. I know what I saw. It looked like a gorilla. That's the closest thing I can think of. But it had long hair from the top of its scalp that was all one length down the front of its body. Its hair just blended into its body hair. Its upper body was kind of barrel shaped. But I know this place, and I know there's no one really been in it. Two shotgun shooters in 10 years, skeet shooters. That's all I seen. I was there every single day. I would go warm up or shoot my ARs before I went coyote hunting every single day for many years. So I got back and I called my mom. I talked to her about it. She goes, well, maybe you should call somebody and report it. So I got a hold of the BFRO online. And this is back when we had flip phones, was the magic device to have at that time. There was no 80 megapixel camera on your phone, you know. So they did get a hold of me, and I think it had been 2 months. They actually made it out and had some investigators in the area come to Indiana, investigate it. And they took 2 months. They stayed in hotels and took 2 months and investigated because they were finding so much stuff. And over the period of another 8 years, I would guess, I seen these things quite a bit more in a very large state hunting property that is adjoins this area.
Wow. That's absolutely incredible. So the BFRO stayed in the area for 2 months researching the property.
Yeah, collecting evidence and trying to have an encounter themselves.
Did they ever end up finding anything? in particular, like tracks, or did they get any photos or audio, anything like that?
Yes, we got all that. I got some photos later of them in this state hunting area where I hunt coyotes. That's where I went. I would go shoot my ARs at this rifle range and then go directly. It's probably 3 miles to the beginning of this wildlife area. And they got a lot of evidence, a lot of hair. I mean, I don't expect they share that stuff because I looked at the actual report. They didn't post the report until about a year afterwards, which is smart. You're protecting an area, you're protecting a creature, or you're protecting an eyewitness. And they changed strategic, um, the address, stuff like that, so people don't go booger up areas or harass them.
Yeah, that
I
makes
was
complete sense.
Yeah, because I looked it up and they changed one or two little things where you would never find it. But if you look at the map where they put it, it's right there.
Yeah, very cool. And I know from personal experiences that if you tell someone where an area is, they'll go looking. It doesn't matter if it's private land; they'll just start walking through your land trying to have an encounter.
Sir, that's exactly what they did. The president of the gun club called me at home one day and said, "Jerry, do you know a guy that's about 6'4" with a brown beard? He was in here asking about you." See, they kind of abused that privacy information, didn't they? He was in my gun shop asking about me. That's kind of a breach of trust. I don't care that the whole world knows. I wish people could see and get actual. They had the evidence that they found. They took it, didn't say anything to me, but I seen them. I didn't mess with them when they were out there. But I was shooting one day, and out comes the investigator that called him. I'm like, "Hey, man, that's all swamp back there. And I'm shooting in that direction. You're not supposed to be back there." I mean, I'm shooting a 30 caliber automatic, and he comes walking up a trail on the side, like right there. I'm like, "Dude, do you not, you know, I know they just have a lifelong interest in finding these and having an encounter is what they're searching for, but it's kind of really, I mean, I wish we could all see them at a distance where we think we're safe and be at peace. But I know for a fact, I didn't want this. I didn't want to see this thing. It didn't want me to see it. Once I saw it, it was just, it didn't really care. It knows I'm not a threat. It sees me there all the time. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So these creatures were watching you fishing in this pond, and you could hear them whistling, and they were making a clicking sound. Can you describe that clicking sound?
You're like, you know how a raccoon kind of will make that that rattle real quick?
Yeah.
They were doing that, but it had a whistle over top of it. I can't even really do it. But the whistle, you know what birds sound like. You probably know most birds if you hear it. Not maybe not what it is, but you know it's a bird. This was like a person whistling. It doesn't we don't have a beak. We can't reach those notes that a bird whistle can. And then it was just like you put your tongue in the roof of your mouth type whistle. I already know, like you're whistling for your dog. I already know. I'm like, that's not a raccoon. That's not a bird. I thought it was a bird, and I was standing there trying to convince myself it was, local wildlife. But I'm in there. It's a gun club. I know what's there. I know where the foxholes are. I know where the coyotes are. I know where the geese live. Um, when it looked at me, it just looked me up and down, and then I seen its eyes go to my thing. That's when I saw when its eyes went to my fishing lure and I was cranking it in. I cast it towards it again and it splashed in the water right in front of it again. I said, I'll get it to look or move its body or something. It looked at the lure splash in the water and looked me dead in the eye. Then it looked back at the lure and went, hmm, like it, these things critically think. It was like he's dragging something across the water. You know, I can't explain what it was thinking, but it was thinking, and it looked me dead in the eye and looked me up and down. They can size you up in a matter of a second.
Yeah. And how far away were they?
It was the big one across the creek. I'm assuming was the male because it was telling them to stay put. They were chattering and screaming back to it, wanting to leave. But the only way to leave was come out of the trail right behind me and go up in perfect sight. The one across from me was 15 yards.
Oh, wow. So
And
that's really
when I was,
close.
yeah, when I was up the hill, halfway up the hill, and I saw the four standing to my right on the ledge, probably 20 yards. I
Wow.
thought it was raccoons. I was hoping it was like, you know, the noise raccoons make. That's what it was doing. That's probably how they get by a lot and stay hidden and communicate without you even knowing it. If we put a raccoon in a cage and put it outside your bedroom window, you would know it's a raccoon. It's going to start making noise, making that noise. You're not even going to pay attention to it. Later on, I was able to get a lot of photos because I hunt coyotes. I have rifle scopes that I can mount cameras to. And we did at that time. I got a lot of them and they took the photos and I never heard anything from them ever again. Those photos popped up later on online with stories behind them. And they were just, distributing the photos. But yeah, I mean, that's it. And it's been quite a long time. I really, after that, I never mentioned it to anybody, but I seen him a few times after that. And I just don't pay attention. Just like I recognize them, they would recognize me. I'm the same person, you know.
Yeah. If you would tell me about these other encounters that you've had.
They were just hunting area where I'd call coyotes. I would get there and I had a routine. I would get there about 7 in the morning while it was still dark, wait, let the area cool off, get in the highest shooting vantage point that I could, which over this one area, it's called the flats. It's a waist high brush. And I was in like a little area where a little inlet and I could shoot out over the field or call them into this inlet and they're kind of they'll take the path of least resistance. Talking about calling in coyotes. And when I would start calling, they knew I was there and it would be seconds before they start moving towards me. And I would hear them. I would hear twigs snap and I'm 40 feet up on this ridge and they knew where I was at most of the time every day. If I would go in another area, like the opposite side of this area, and make my way back there and set up, I would hear them coming in. And I got a lot of photos of them and I sent it this is back when we had flip phones with cameras, but it was really bad quality. So I got like a Nikon FZ with the fitting that fitted on my camera and a brace that fit on my rifle scopes. And this was hardcore technology then to get a camera to focus through a rifle scope. But I got quite a lot of photos of them, and I didn't want to scare them off because they knew sometimes I wouldn't see them, and I would wonder where that one was because it was like a lighter brown. It would come up to the tree line to the adjacent woods and just wait, and I would see it move. I'm looking for smaller stuff like coyotes. And, I agree with when people say they were, flanked out of the woods. Like when you walk, they walk. When you stop, that's just common sense. Even other small critters will do that. So you're not aware that they're there. They did that quite a bit. I just got to where I wasn't shocked by them anymore. I know they're not going to hurt me. I was very close to them at the pond that morning.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I do agree with you that possibly they were like mimicking raccoons, but I've also heard like tribal people around the world will do like these clicks and pops with their mouth as a communication. So that's possibly what was going on as well. And what did the creature look like, the big male? Can you describe the features on him?
Yeah, it kind of had a big head and kind of like a gorilla, but dish faced, like flat faced, big, huge eyes, long hair from the top of its head, huge shoulders, like unbelievable. When it turned sideways and looked at my fishing lure, it went, "Hmm," just like you would look at something, go, you know. I was like, wow, this thing's intelligent. The hair blended with its facial hair, the hair from the top of its head. So I could just see its eyes, nose, forehead. The rest was hair. But with the moonlight on it, I could see how wide it was. When it turned sideways, I was like, oh, that's when I usually have a couple of ARs in my trunk for coyote hunting. I just put them in there, go to work, go home, go to the range, take them out, go hunting, take them out. I just keep them in the trunk. I'm like, "Ooh, man, you know, uh, they knew I wasn't a threat and they were looking at what I had in my hand, the fishing pole. That's what he was looking at. But I think that he was telling them because when I got home that morning, I'm like, man, that chattering behind me and the back and forth. First, it was in front of me, then it was in back of me making noise. Then they were arguing back and forth, like really harsh, like they were. I figured that out that he was telling them, stop, stop, stay still, stay where you're at. They were arguing like they wanted to leave. There was no way for them to leave other than to come out onto that steep slope right in my face.
Yeah. And one of them was holding a juvenile. Is that correct?
Yes, a small, like a really, really small one.
Wow. And
The
what do those creatures look like?
Just like them, kind of like chimpanzee from what I could see. Um, there was a one standing to her right that wasn't really big, and she was pretty big, wide. When I turned and noticed them, they all kind of hunkered into a huddle, and that little one on her right turned around and put its face like in her, in her side of her groin, like hiding its face like a child. Like they were really scared. And she just stood there and held them and looked directly at me. I'm guessing she was a female because they were hanging on her, and with her. Isn't that something?
Yeah, that's an incredible encounter. You got to see the entire clan.
Yeah, because if you think about it, they come from somewhere. The large alpha males, they come from somewhere. They didn't just spring out of a hole in the ground, you know. They had family units and groups. And this place is not inhabited, and definitely not where I was down that slope. If I was to hit my head and fall in the water, that'd be it for me. It'd be, you know, no one's going to find me because there is no one.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think these creatures were fishing that day and maybe you interrupted their um their supply?
Um, I guess it's possible. It's where I was at. It's not very deep, but the one across the way was eating those flowers, and I took one of the flowers like the next summer. They just come out real quick and then they dry up and they're gone. And I looked it up. It's like a juniper bush or a juniper tree. Has a real pretty white and red and orange flower on it. He was eating those pretty chompy, like a horse, right in front of me, like stuffing his mouth full. That's why I said that bush is about 6 feet tall. There's no way for you, if you're 6'6", to be reaching over a bush and plucking flowers off. And the bush was going, it was really, he was really plucking that bush clean, you know? Like, man, it's still there. Everything's still there. Looks just like it did then.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I didn't know that they would eat those types of flowers, and that's important for the research. What time of year was this?
It was July, I think, uh, the 10th, 1997. And the years, when you hear an old encounter, the years really mean nothing. I listen to the details and the behavior of these things and that's what got me interested in it. I didn't really believe in it before I saw it and it looked at me and went, huh, like I was not, he said that I'm not a threat. All I have is a fishing pole.
Yeah. And I'm sure they've watched you on the property before and they knew, okay, he doesn't have a firearm this time. He's out there fishing.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Now, what happened after this encounter? Did you get out of there and then go home? You mentioned that you talked to your mother and she kind of told you to contact someone else. But after the encounter, did you like take off running? Did you drop your fishing poles and leave everything there? Kind of what happened after that?
Yeah, I left the tackle box, and when I got up to the top of the hill, I got in my car. I was gone. I was really pretty panicked. I didn't think that little Cavalier could smoke its tires. I got out of there. So yeah, when I got home, I guess it was a week. I really couldn't sleep. I wanted to tell somebody and see if anybody else had ever had any encounters like that. That's when I got online. Now I'm talking web TV days, We had I found the BFRO and I contacted them. Then they actually called me back on the ground line and I made a report. I sent them sketches and stuff, and they were pretty ecstatic about that. What I can't say what they found because I wasn't out there every day with them, but I know they were out there for a couple of months, and if they don't find anything, they're not going to spend that much time, and they take turns um, in recent history telling each other where this area is. And it's not like it's a secret. It's like a quarter mile outside of a small town. Um, and they all go there and investigate, and they've all found plenty footprints galore. It's not, that's when you find footprints, you kind of want to move past that. You want to see this thing. It's there, right? It's 100% evidence that something left this footprint in the dirt. It's there. You want to move past that. and they're past the hair and the footprints, and there's piles of scat that they took pictures of and put it on BFRO, and I know where that person just was. I know which is good. They're kind of hiding the location, but I don't really care. I've shared it with a lot of people. There was another Bigfoot website after the BFRO that a guy named Luke, I believe he's passed away now. We had a lot of fun out there, and he did a lot, and he was a good guy, and he was lucky enough to make eye contact with him too. I can't explain why or how. I'm not saying they're comfortable with me because a lot of times I don't see them. I still hunt coyotes, and not quite as often, but I still go to the exact same spot and sit down and wait, and any intelligent animal knows that. The coyotes know where I go.
Yeah. And did you have any strange experiences on the property, like anything paranormal? Did you ever see any orbs, anything?
No, I sure didn't. Usually by nighttime, I'm out of there. That was my first and only time I went there while it was dark.
Okay. So you think showing up in the darkness kind of threw them off?
Absolutely, because I had never been there, and I never went down to the water, and I'd never been there at dark. I went and looked over the edge. I'm like, I'm going to come and fish this in the morning.
Yeah. I bet that threw them off. And the little juvenile, did he seem scared, he or she?
Yes, it buried its face under the arm of the one that was holding it. I want to say the mother because that's what I think it was because they were all hanging on her or it. And yeah, they were pretty scared. They're scared of people, I think.
Yeah. And you didn't feel like they chased you out of the area whenever you left? Like nothing was following you? Did they just stay there or go their own way?
I don't know. When I made it to my car, I was gone. I didn't even look back. I don't think they were chasing me, but I was terrified. I mean, crying. And I got home and I was like, whoa, man. I was shaking. And it was about 10 days or something before I contacted the BFRO. I'm like, I can't take it anymore. They were kind of laughing. They're like, okay, man, we know how it is. So a lot of those people are pretty legit too. But later on, the owner of the gun club asked me, hey, Jerry, do you know a guy that's about 6'2" with a beard? I'm like, I already knew who it was. I'm like, no, why? He's like, he was in here asking about you. Ask if you could go walk around the gun club. I'm like, oh, okay. I already knew what it was. And then I seen him walking out one day while I was rifle practice.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Are you just putting together like in your own head, or do you keep records of it, of like their behavior and what they do?
I mean, I save people's reports when they email me and I log them down on YouTube. But as far as the behavior, yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much just saving it in my mind, keeping it in mind when people say like they'll push over trees or they'll throw rocks or they'll do such and such. And after you hear it so many times, you don't really forget.
Yeah. So do you hope to have an encounter or do you hope to see one?
I've seen them before here in Missouri.
Oh, cool. I've seen a lot of your podcast, listened to a lot of your podcasts, but probably not all of them. But
Yeah.
I didn't want that encounter for a couple of years. I didn't want it. I don't want to see that. I don't want to think about that when I'm driving to work. I did not want it. There's a lot of people that would love to see one, but it's kind of terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. At the time, I thought it was like trespassers or, you know, possibly Sasquatch, but I was leaning more towards trespassers. And then whenever I encountered them, it kind of blew my mind. I was actually pretty excited for like the first year or two, but the more time that goes on, I'm just a little, I don't know. It just really makes you wonder what they are and why other people haven't seen them. And it definitely terrifies you. That's for sure.
Like one of the BFRO, one of the investigators called me and said he didn't think Indiana had big enough woods to support an animal that size.
Yeah, that's pretty
Isn't that,
common.
isn't that really?
Yeah,
Why
people
would
say
they
that
say
about Missouri.
something that ridiculous?
Yeah, I don't know.
Indiana is all woods, all of it. There's buildings here and there, but it's all woods.
Yeah, it's pretty remote. I mean, even people that live around me say Missouri does not have enough woods to support a creature this large. But I mean,
They said that too.
yeah, I hear it all the time from people.
Wow.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, though. I mean, this area
So
used
did
to
you
have.
record your encounter?
I wasn't able to like record it on video, but
No, I mean, is it on a podcast? Which number is it?
I'll have to send it to you later. But yeah, I did post my encounters on the channel, and they're on there for people to see.
Oh, awesome, man. I'll go to your page and look for it.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. And have you had any other experiences that maybe you'd like to share during the podcast?
No, other than I seen this group after this, the different members of the group, and I've seen them many times. I mean, I just got, it's not shocking to me anymore. I hear some of your witnesses on your shows that they're just not even, you do get conditioned to it. I won't even freak out if one walks right by me. I'm not going to freak out, that I'm just not comfortable with them, but I understand they live in those woods, you know.
Yeah. As time goes on, when they would knock or something, it just doesn't surprise me anymore like it used to.
Yeah. Well, I'll start sharing when I watch your podcast and start sharing, and that sure helps. Everyone I know will watch it and look at it, and if everybody did that, we'd get a lot more recognition for the people that are, you know, investigating it. And eventually someone's gonna find one or get one or trap one eventually.
Yeah, absolutely. Then the entire population is going to be into the Bigfoot subject. And I wonder how that will go whenever everyone's like watching these podcasts or these videos and listening to the podcast and going out there looking. Because when someone does bring one in, if they shoot one, find one, trap one, whatever it may be, I think everyone's going to be trying to go out there looking for these things.
Yeah, that will be interesting. And it's kind of like, if I don't know exactly if it would be like a family outing type thing. Could you take a 5-year-old and a 8-year-old? I don't know. I can't testify that they're not harmful to people. I know that one couldn't get its hands on me, but 15 yards, I can probably jump 15 yards. But I mean, would you take kids into the woods looking for something you're not quite sure if it's dangerous or not?
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
sure people do.
Yeah, they probably will. Families will be out there camping. Hunters will be putting up bounties. Whoever can get one is the best hunter. Who knows?
Yeah. You would think, when something lives in the woods, this is coyotes taught me this, all 35, 40 years of coyote hunting. When something's different in, say, a patch of woods, they pick it out instantly. Coyotes do. If something looks funny up against that tree 80 yards away, they're gone because they live there every day. And we, jump in a car, drive 50 miles, get out. We're unfamiliar with those woods. They live there every day.
Yeah, absolutely. I've noticed that with deer, turkey. Like if anything's different, they get out of there.
Yeah, I do a lot of drone photography nowadays, and yeah, Missouri is beautiful. I've been meaning to slip down there. It's
Yeah,
not that far.
it
It's
it
really
really is.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful area. What kind of drone are you operating?
I have Phantom. I mean, Mini 3.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good
Yeah, it's
drone.
cool.
I got the
Yeah, it
Mini
is. It's
too.
really cool.
I'm wanting to upgrade, but
Hey, that's the best one, buddy.
really,
The 2 is better in wind. And I just did there's a bunch of stuff I just did on my little YouTube page. I just put it up there because I have a phone dedicated to the drone. It gets full, the card gets full, the card on the drone gets full. So I just upload them to YouTube unedited. There's a lot of stuff if you ever need to download any of it. It's a lot of like woods and scenery and wildlife. And I fly right over flocks of geese on a pond, and they got a habit now. They know me. They just put their head down and I fly inches right over them. I'm like one wing flap in that drone's history. You know what I mean? It's just it's on my page there under my name.
okay, very cool, and I will check it out. All right, Jerry, I appreciate you for sharing your encounter with me, and it was definitely an intense one. And I'm not surprised to hear that you were out there fishing and you ran into these creatures.
Awesome, man.
All right.
Thanks, man. I love your show, dude. Keep it up.
I appreciate it. And if you ever encounter anything else, feel free to reach back out to me.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. Jerry, thank you very much for contacting me and sharing your Bigfoot encounter openly with me here on the channel with everyone. And it truly was an amazing one. It seems like these creatures are hanging out around waterways and they are seeking out food sources, looking for fish, animals to eat, and probably vegetation. But, of course, you never know what these things are truly up to, and you ran into them, and a lot of people don't. It's interesting that the BFRO came out there and they stayed around for a few months. That tells me that there was certainly something going on, because they wouldn't waste too much time in an area if there just wasn't anything being found, anything being seen. And yeah, the fact that you ran into the entire clan is very cool. I've noticed that the clan doesn't typically stick together during the daytime, so that was a pretty rare thing to see. Typically they're spread out during the day, and at nighttime they group up. But that's just from my experience. Of course, any bit of research you have, these creatures will contradict it and do something that no one expects. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for listening today, and if you guys can, please support the channel in any way possible. Leave a like, a comment, and subscribe to the channel. All right, thank you guys for listening, and until the next one, be safe out in the forest.